Mulder heads to the Bermuda Triangle to locate the Queen Anne, a luxury liner that disappeared during World War II, which has suddenly reappeared. What he finds is literally the Queen Anne in World War II.
Is it real? Has the ship been warped in from 5 decades ago? Or is it the other way around?
This is not happening.
You know, I look forward to your nautical puns.
I know you do. But I guess
especially because we always go with, let's dive in or something, and we've begun to find issue with that terminology for regular episodes. Because we always say dive in, but it's got nothing to do with boats. But now, it's Boat City, right?
It is Boat City.
City.
I'm sorry, was that not good?
No, it was good. Yeah, it was all right.
And your favorite?
Steve the Duck will be here forever.
Hey,
although I had to add him in last time.
Did you? To make it make sense?
It didn't get recorded.
Yeah.
Those audio clips didn't get recorded, but hopefully they will this time.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm standing by with sound effects and sound cut-ins and everything. It's going to be great.
Absolutely. And Libby is in the chat here. Good stuff.
Hey! Welcome aboard. We're going to go out to sea, and it's going to be a great nautical cruise. Yes, I'm going to have a lot of fun with these.
Yes.
This is your idea to use Discord.
Hey. For the show. It was a good idea. All right, let's. I'm all for the sound effects.
I knew you would be.
As long as it's not Sound Effects City, we should be okay. But yeah, what do you say we get started, Andrew? It's 6:34. Couple folks have trickled in. I'm ready to go. We're already doing one better than last time. So
I know. This is how it grows, though.
Let's keep the momentum, even if it's one by one. We're totally appreciative. But thank you, everyone, for joining us. This is Not Happening, another X-Files podcast. I'm your host, Mike. With me, as always, my good friend, Andrew. And Andrew, tonight we're covering, perhaps, what is frequently referenced as one of the fan favorite episodes, Triangle.
Triangle. Well, that suggests that it has 3 sides to it. Good side, bad side, and the ugly side, maybe?
I would agree.
Yeah.
That's generally what a triangle means.
Written and directed by Chris Carter.
Yes. I was just going to mention that.
It's not his first kick of the can, though. He's directed before.
No. Yeah, pet project of his. He had this idea, very theatrical, very non-X-Files episode, but still has that flair that keeps it in the X-Files universe. But it's very enjoyable, very, as you and I have discussed here and there, they get to spread their wings just a little bit.
Yeah, and as Carrie is pointing out in the chat, the camera work is the standout in this episode. It is an acceptably interesting story. I will give it that. But the real star is the camera work. These long shots or fake long shots, because they're not
fake long shots.
There's some really compelling edits that link 2 bits together. But it does give it this movie-like feel. And so much so, I was like, you should just do the rest of the series like that, because
there's a lot of memorization that's required for these shots because they are minutes long and they're not easy. There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of huffing and puffing. There's a lot of things to remember, not just dialogue. So this was a fantastic change of pace and a very cleverly edited episode.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason, of course, they don't do more like this, because it'd take friggin' forever to produce a show like this.
Yeah.
They must have had to do a lot of pre-production work to make this happen.
This came around the same time, if I'm not mistaken, where TV shows were trying to expand and do more creative things. I could be wrong, but I think ER did a live episode around this time where everything was shot real time and you were watching it as it was happening. So
yeah,
I think this was around that same time, and some television shows were trying to expand and be a little bit more theatrical and intense. And this was a way to keep their actors on their toes and let them have fun.
Well, the one that really stuck out for me was 24, but that didn't start till 2001. So
yeah,
that was the revolution, the idea of doing it in real time. But this is not that. This is in fact the X-Files. And I am ready for us to set sail for adventure.
All right. We open on the Sargasso Sea 64 west by southwest. We're underwater. A blue sheet covers the screen. Mark Snow's chorus sings a slow, haunting melody. Objects and debris are floating above as the camera tracks slowly through the water. Pieces of what look like a small boat are shown. The remnants of the Lady Garland. A dark figure comes into frame, a man face down in the water. The camera closes in bit by bit, then we see it. It's Mulder. Credits.
Man, what a great opening.
Great opening.
It's short. It's
to
sweet.
The point.
It's to the point.
Man. So that opening.
I really like it.
You do like this one. You're not just being facetious.
I listen. I like 99% of this episode.
Uh-oh. What's the other 1%?
And I know you're going to ask yourself, what is the 1%? And it'll stick out. I really like it, especially this opening. Like it is just so
simple.
Tells a story. Yep. You don't have 4 minutes of open where we got to set all our stuff up. No, it's just like this asks so many questions and I want to know more.
As you'll note, the name of the ship, which is a clear homage to The Wizard of Oz, as this whole episode is.
Yes.
They're letting you know up front. They're not hiding behind anything. They are letting you know this is a love letter to The Wizard of Oz. It is.
But only the eagle-eyed would note that particular detail. The other particular detail worth noting is you, of course, caught in the credits, the new tagline. Did you have any notes about that? I
didn't have notes about that. You go ahead, sir.
Well, I would like you to try and pronounce the tagline for me. This, of course, is usually it's the truth is out there at the end, but it's been replaced in this episode.
Die Wahrheit ist irgendwo de droben.
Perfect. As in not perfect
as in
at all.
Not
but
perfect.
It doesn't matter. I think the comic value alone is good.
For glancing at it
you get
taking a stab at it without having practiced, I think that was okay.
That's right. It translates loosely to the truth is somewhere out there.
Somewhere out there.
Exactly. Clearly, they just wanted to do it in German, and that works.
Yeah. It's nighttime. Thunder rumbles. Torrential rain pour onto the deck of a ship. We hear a group of men hauling something out of the water. They're British. It appears to be Mulder being hoisted up and rescued. Mulder slowly comes to on the deck. They poke fun at him, ask him if he's an airman, but are confused by his apparel. There's animosity in the air, and they repeatedly kick him as he lie on the deck. He's a rat, and we throw him over like a rat. As they lift him to his feet, he's called Jerry repeatedly, to his confusion. The men offer him any last words before they throw him back in the drink, and Mulder stresses his name isn't Jerry. He identifies himself as Mulder and offers his ID. The men take it and read it out loud. Federal Bureau of Investigation. Never heard of it. Mulder's taken aback by this, and they continue prepping to kill him. He asks them where he's being taken, and they hone in on his accent. Is he part of the Fuhrer's Secret Service? Then it becomes obvious. Jerry is, of course, ladies and gentlemen, a term used in World War II to identify German troops. They spit on him and take him to the captain's quarters. Captain Harburg answers, and they present Mulder to him. He swiftly punches him twice, asking if he's friend or foe. He asks which flag Mulder pledges allegiance to. As Mulder tries to understand what's happening, the captain slugs him again. He pieces together this is the Queen Anne, confirmed by the captain and his men. The men begin to strike him again, but Mulder stops him, claiming to have had enough. A crewman holds a knife to his throat, begging for the word. Mulder came looking for this ship. He tries to explain, asking what the current position is. The crew's done with him, though, and they attempt to take him out of the room forcefully. Mulder changes tactics here, I'll tell you. He proceeds to give their exact coordinates to everyone's surprise, and asks how he could know that if he's been in the water. The captain scoffs. That's a damn good question, and he wants to hear the answer. Continuing on, Mulder tells them they haven't been able to get accurate compass readings, and that they're caught in what's called the Devil's Triangle. At this point, he's been unhanded and crosses to a wall map. He draws with his finger a triangle from Bermuda to Puerto Rico to Florida. The Queen Anne is in the eastern side of it. It's in some kind of limbo dimension, a time warp, and now they've popped out into 1998. The crew is understandably skeptical and call for his being thrown overboard once again, done with the nonsense. The captain clarifies. They're at war and he's not about to lose his mind to a jackal like Mulder. But he persists. There's no war. It's over. The world's at peace. Aside from trouble at the White House, which, of course, will blow over. Wink and a nod.
Yes, that was topical at the time.
To the Monica Lewinsky thing. Yep.
Yep.
But the debate gets interrupted. A man rushes in calling for the captain. It's the Germans. They've gained control of the ship and are steering for the homeland. Captain Harburg sets off to stop it, telling them to keep Mulder at bay.
I think this is a pretty great setup so far.
Yeah.
I mean,
pretty intense, but he's getting the story out, which is moving it forward. And now the Germans have controlled the ship. So, the story is going pretty briskly at this point.
Yeah. It's
3 things have happened. They've fished him out of the sea. He's let them know they've time traveled, and now Germans are aboard the ship. So 3 pretty big things right off the bat.
I thought it was an interesting, the start of a bait and switch. The idea that Mulder has found the Queen Anne, but he thinks they're in 1998, which would have been a really interesting episode too, right? That the ship has come out and then the thrust of the plot would be, well, how do we send it back to 1939 or what's going to happen such that it obviously is going to return to 1939. But as it goes on, of course, we learn that, oh no, it's the other way around.
Oh no.
Or is it? Anyway, I'm sure you have stuff.
Or is it? Well, the crew leaves him alone and locks the quarters door, essentially trapping him in until later. And Mulder is giddy. This is unbelievable, he says. He goes to the radio and turns some dials to call for help. He identifies himself, hoping to get someone to respond. Instead, Andrew, what he gets, to his surprise, he gets a news bulletin from an older-sounding broadcast. The British ambassador in Berlin handed the German government a final note stating that unless we heard from them today that they are prepared at once to withdraw their troops from Poland, a state of war would exist between us. No such undertaking has been received. Consequently, as of today, September 3rd, 1939, this country is at war with Germany.
That checks out.
It checks out.
I believe that is how it happened.
Yep. Before he can take it all in, he hears the lock of the door turning, startling him. The lights turn off and a German officer comes in slowly. He's completely shadowed, though he does sound familiar. The radio announcer continues on about the closure of places of entertainment as the officer scans the darkened room. He heads to the radio to turn it off and is blindsided. The music of Bei mir bist du schön fades in as a scuffle ensues. The men exchange blows in the darkness, us not really being able to see anything. At the end of the fight, the German officer falls into what little light is coming in by the door, Mulder on top of him. The man is knocked out, and Mulder is shocked to see the face of Agent Spender.
Ooh, what?
Ooh, big reveal there. Everyone's coming out to play in this episode.
It couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
Could not have happened to a nicer officer.
He's getting his payback early because shit's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's a nice twist. The second part of our bait and switch. I like it. And it really does just sort of continue to go on to the element of what the hell is happening here. I am kind of surprised that they didn't start the episode with dragging him out of the water onto the boat and then running this whole sequence right up until he is about to be surprised by the German. Because they do that thing where he's like, oh, shit, and they don't say it because it's broadcast TV, which would have ended up in a really nice moment.
Right.
If they did that.
Well, they did that with Bad Blood a season earlier.
I suppose they did.
So that exact same thing they did.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want them to tread already trodden ground, Andrew, and be lame about it, they could do that. Is that what you prefer?
Well, but they used it, though. They used him saying, oh, almost shit. So, I mean, they kind of already did do it. They just didn't put it in the same place.
Fair enough.
All right. So, yeah, that happened, and there's a fight, and it's Spender, but not Spender. It's German Spender.
Spender.
It's
either way, he's a weasel, isn't he?
Yeah, it's our second long take moment where the fight is happening in darkness, and there is so much easy opportunity for them to extend the scene. It makes it look like it's one long take, but it could have been cut a million different ways in the darkness. Either way, it looks really good.
So, they did, yeah. This is probably the first of their many cuts. Mulder begins undoing his jacket, and the camera backs away slowly, pans around the quarters, And like I said, in the first of many smooth transition, the camera pans. We now enter the luxury liner's hallway. Beautiful wood halls are illuminated every 10 feet or so by ornate lighting. As far as the eye can see, German officers are patrolling the rooms, and Mulder steps into frame in his newly stolen officer's uniform and cap. The soldiers down the way call to him, and immediately he swiftly turns, first at a fine pace and then outright running down the hall to evade them. They pursue, rounding a corner into a stairwell, and take the stairs. After they pass, Mulder skulks out of the nearby doorway and continues on his way. In the distance, he hears more shouting. More soldiers come running past as he hides once again. A whole battalion, it feels like, is chasing this one man.
That must have been a dozen guys that wandered down there.
Once they pass, the camera slinks into a small hall where he ducked and approaches a red curtain. Another slick cut into a dining and dance hall. Socialites everywhere, cameras flashing, waiters servicing their customers. Mulder's presence cuts through and against the crowd of finely dressed people. He searches frantically, unsure exactly of what to do. The camera circles him, and as he catches the eye of the beautiful blonde singer, she winks at him. Interrupting the moment is a pair of dancers, a man and a woman, who bump into Mulder on the dance floor. He gets out of their way, and then notices the short, red-haired Bob. It's Scully.
What?
Excuse me. Scully.
I suggest you get your Nazi paws off me before you get one in the kisser.
No, it's me, Mulder.
Oh, you speak English, do you? Well, how'd you like to see the stars in the American flag?
I'm not a Nazi.
Oh, sure. You just look like one, right?
I had to steal this uniform. Scully.
Erster Mann, dann Sie wollen!
The officers haul him away under protest as the dancing continues. He's dragged out onto the deck of the ship, and regaining composure, Mulder starts a fight that is quickly ended. The soldiers bring him upstairs to the control room to hear an angry man giving orders in German. The captain is facing the camera as two officers address him angrily, their backs to us. We see another German aim his gun at the man as he refuses to let go of the wheel. The captain spits on the officers, and he is shot unceremoniously. Turning around and flipping open a gold case, the officer in charge pulls out a cigarette to reveal himself as CSM. Mulder's brought face to face with him. When the communication barriers present themselves, CSM threatens him by having a soldier once again point his gun. Mulder protests and asks what he's done to deserve being killed. And like an angel from heaven, we hear a man in the distance yell halt. From the opposite end of the room, a ranking officer comes in with Mulder's identification. It's Skinner. From what we can tell, he's clearing him as an American. Nothing to do with this, and he's ushered out of the room. Commercial.
Oh, what a smart bit of business.
There's Skinner.
There. Historically accurate too, because the Germans were not they were not in the business of killing Americans yet.
Not just yet.
They wanted to make it a European theater kind of war. So I like that twist, and of course that it's Skinner is another shake your head moment. What the what? Very interesting.
What? Well, we go now to 1998 at the FBI headquarters. Scully is working amongst other people. It's the bullpen. When in come some friends, curiously.
What are you guys doing here?
Mulder's in trouble. Big trouble.
What do you mean?
Let's take a walk.
Okay, where are we going?
The walls have ears.
I have ears. Will you tell me what's going on?
Mulder's disappeared.
Disappeared from where?
From the National Reconnaissance Office's La Crosse mid-latitude imaging radar satellite.
I don't understand. What am I looking at?
A whole lot of nothing.
We pulled that down 45 minutes ago off the NRO satellite, which early this morning sent a picture of a ship which inexplicably appeared in the middle of the Atlantic. The SS Queen Anne, which by all accounts vanished without a trace over 60 years ago.
The Queen Anne, the British luxury liner.
That's correct.
It was torpedoed by a German U-boat.
That's one story.
There's another?
Though her exact position was kept a secret for fear spies might give her up to the Axis, it's been reasonably determined that the Queen Anne was just south of the Plantagenet Bank when she went missing.
Less than 60 feet of water, yet she's never been found.
So you're saying that the Queen Anne just disappeared?
Into the Bermuda Triangle.
And reappeared this morning at 6:49 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
It's impossible.
The satellite doesn't lie.
There's nothing on here.
We gave the original images to Mulder so we could use them as navigational aids.
He was in a hurry.
To get where?
Out to the Queen Anne before anyone else got there first.
He's gone out here?
He went to Bermuda and he chartered a powerboat out of Hamilton Harbor. We tracked him on the satellite for an hour and a half.
Until a storm blew in and obscured all transmissions.
That's what you're holding.
But what's happened to him?
We can't know that, not without alternative tracking data, which is why we're here.
Without good data, all we can do is wait and hope for the best.
Yeah, but expect the worst.
Well, we have to get help.
Without a position, he's a needle in a haystack.
What do you need?
Navy AWACS SLAR or SAR 100K swath imaging. You're going to have to find somebody at the Pentagon to get it.
Wait for me downstairs.
Another convincing camera edit right here as she goes out in the hallway. Brilliant stuff.
Excellent stuff. So before we continue, I'm going to pull on Andrew here and highly contest the gunman's presence here.
What? Why would I dislike that?
Not because of them, but because it doesn't make much sense. We do see that they have badges of like maybe a tour or something.
Yeah, visitor badges.
I don't believe for a second they could just walk into the FBI bullpen. One of many, I'm sure. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this, Andrew?
Okay.
As much as I love seeing them and they're necessary for this particular plot to move forward, what is the Andrew explanation for this or thoughts?
Okay. So you are absolutely right that they would definitely be persons of interest that, if anything, would be met down in the lobby. You know, they're known for hacking and such, so definitely you wouldn't want to bring them into the bullpen. So the fact that they're there is a story of another episode that I would love to see. But they are, you know what? I hadn't even considered that this was a mistake until you mentioned it, because I love them so, and anytime they show up in the episode, it's automatically better.
Right.
So,
and that's the truth. Anytime they're on the screen, we like to see it. So we kind of forget some of the real life stuff. But
now the reason they're there is structurally so that they can have that big ass scene, and then she can wander through the hallways. It's another one of their long takes, and it's easier if they do that than if she goes to visit them in their office and then has to come back to the FBI. So
long take is her in a cab.
Yeah, exactly. And it's better than a phone call because then they're doing cuts back and forth. So I get why they've done this. Probably she should have met them outside. But
absolutely,
I am willing to hand wave this away. And this
absolutely,
is not one of my
and I was just poking fun at it. I just thought it is highly unbelievable that this would happen. But fun stuff.
Yeah, that's fair.
So after that conversation, thus begins one of the coolest sequences in the episode, the show, perhaps.
I would even go that far. Yeah.
Yeah.
Utilizing
really long
wish they
cuts.
Had more of this stuff through other episodes, but.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Scully rushes out of the bullpen, and the camera follows her. At the door, we see the camera swing to the right and continue following. Every time we see that, that's an edit. She heads into Skinner's office, bypassing the secretary. She opens the door to interrupt Skinner on the phone. She asks for help. Despite his protests, she's begging for his help, but he can't. She tries to convince him about Mulder. It's going to save his life. Brings her to the door. He's not allowed to have contact with them at all per their new assignments and the trouble they're in. As the secretary tattles on Scully, she slams the door in her face. She gives it one more go. After all we've been through, the least you can do is hear me out. She needs information, and that's all. She hands him the small note she scribbled. After a moment, he begins listing off things that could happen to him if he helps. The two part ways, frustrated, and he's decided not to help.
Oh, wait 1 minute, sir. The best lines in the episode. Use your head, Scully. It'll save your ass.
I didn't care for this line from her. I got to be honest.
Okay.
It's a little constructed. It feels forced.
You don't think she would just whip that one out?
I don't. And it's a little clunky, if I'm being honest. It feels clunky. Like, save your ass, it'll save your head along. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and
it feels clunky to me.
If I'm being honest, his line to her feels like a clue, but doesn't really offer her anything.
No.
So.
We follow Scully again out of the office door and in the hallways. People are milling about, and she makes her way into an elevator with the camera. The doors close, and they all quietly stand together in the packed elevator, the other women of the FBI giving her obvious glances of curiosity, as if they know who she is. Following her out of the elevator, she walks into yet another office. It's A.D. Kirsch's. The secretary steps out of his office, and Scully assaults her, begging to speak to him. The secretary plays defense as Kirsch comes to the door, and she enters. She steps into the office and turns around to politely ask, panting from running around, for his help. She needs information, but she can't tell him why. As the camera circles her, we see a man in back. It's CSM. Finally, she notices him. Kirsch approaches for the document, and she tries to play it off, sensing enemy territory. He takes it. She leaves just as fast as she came. We follow her out of his office, and she's visibly frustrated, lowering her head and raising her arms and feet as her back is turned to us. But then she gets an idea. She grabs her phone and steps back onto an elevator. The camera circles Scully. She can't connect to who she's calling. When the elevator stops, she breezes past the camera into a new hall, and the camera does yet another whip cut. It's the basement this time. She heads down the hall she knows very well to her old office to visit Agent Spender.
I want you to do me a favor. It's not negotiable. Either you do it or I kill you. You understand?
You okay, just going?
No, I'm not. I'm a gun ready to go off, so don't test me, Spender. Don't even think about trying to weasel me.
What is it that you need?
Navy. AWACS. SLAR. 100 Case West, southeast of Bermuda. I am looking for a boat, maybe a ship, 1939 luxury liner.
1939.
Don't ask too many questions. I don't care what you do or who you have to grease. I need that information, and I need it now. Are we clear on that?
Crystal.
Agent Spender, if you're not back in a hurry, I am going to hunt you down, and so help me God.
Right.
Well, nothing could go wrong with that.
No, not at all. We've
Spender is known to be
Spender
trustworthy. And
absolutely. I don't see any problems, honestly.
yeah, exactly.
But it's a fun little scene, which plays up their distaste for each other. As with the rest of the interactions in this episode, it's very humorous and enjoyable because we know what she's thinking, and we know how this is pretty much going to turn out.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I like it. I like the scene. I like the, Chris Owens. He's the guy who plays Spender.
Yeah.
Excellent. Just in his role in this moment is very understated, and I like it. Mm-hmm. You almost think that he is going to do it. Optimistic.
For a moment, he's like, you know what? I might just help.
That's right.
Because the truth of the matter is, he and Scully don't hate each other, but they are on the opposing teams, right?
Apparently.
I think his real anger and animosity is towards Mulder himself. These two haven't really butted heads a super amount, but they are antagonistic towards each other.
Well, that's not going to get better now after this treatment.
No.
Do me the favor, I'm going to kill you.
Can you blame her, though? So to close out the scene, the phone rings in Spender's office, and she answers it. Clearly, it's CSM on the line inquiring about Agent Scully and the note she handed Kirsch. I love, just a note here for me, I love the awkward phone call gag. This edges on it. It's not outright comedic, but what I love is when he realizes it's Scully, and instead of talking through it, he just kind of awkwardly hangs up after a second of silence. It's just good stuff. Perfectly handled in this moment.
I'd agree with you there.
She rushes out of Spender's office, alarmed to bump into Kirsch's secretary, who's come looking for her. She was sent, actually, to retrieve Scully. Spender is currently in Kirsch's office as they speak, and this angers Scully. She jumps into the elevator, leaving her behind, and slams the button. She gets a staticky call from what sounds like Mulder. The door opens, and as soon as she steps off, she sees the three men, Spender, Kirsch, and CSM, in the hall, who turn to look at her ominously. She U-turns immediately back into the elevator and changes floors. When the door opens this time, we see Skinner on the phone asking if it was her on the other line. Apparently, it was him who was calling. Or was it, Andrew?
1998 cell phone technology. I would not be surprised that she couldn't get reception in an elevator.
He steps into the elevator, and the two share a brief moment where he gives her the information she's been looking for. She kisses him with excitement for saving Mulder's life.
On the lips. And I would actually go as far as to say he hasn't saved shit so far. This is just...
Not yet.
You gave me info. Good for you.
She's perceiving it as life-saving. When the door opens, they're on the floor with the bad guys once again. Skinner immediately switches into bullshit mode and begins reprimanding Scully for asking for his help to cover. He walks away and the doors close. Scully rejoices silently as the elevator moves on. The doors open. We get 2 whip cuts into a hall and then a parking garage where the gunmen zoom in on their Volkswagen bus to pick her up. FBI agents are watching her, including the one that was on the elevator with her. And as the van squeals through the garage and takes a corner, we see a blurry image of a man chasing the van and then giving up as he shrinks into the distance. She was being watched, Andrew.
She was.
Just a little taste of the X-Files action there for pretty much no reason. I don't think they needed that, but...
I thought it was Spender
it was
chasing
fun.
after them.
Is it Spender? I don't think so.
I don't know. It just looks like...
I think it was the guy on the elevator, honestly. But
oh, yeah, okay. Now, is he not in the 1939 bit as well as an extra?
That's a good call. I don't know.
I thought that
he
I
may
saw
be.
that face before as one of the British crewmen, but who knows? Anyway, that's probably him doing the chasing, yeah.
It's that time, everyone. The Magus Media Production sales pitch. Please check out our homepage at magusmediaproductions.net so you can stay up to date on all of our shows. Check out our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Magus Media Productions, both of which have our Discord link on it, where you can join us for live shows as we record them for future release. At Magus Media Prods on X, our Patreon, patreon.com/Magus Media, where a $5 donation will help us keep the lights on and bringing you new content, and you get some stickers. Thank you for your consideration and support. I did want to note, now that we're at the end of that really cool scene with Scully.
Oh, brilliant scene. Probably the best.
Worth noting that every time Scully gets on the elevator, they actually had to switch the entire set. Because obviously the elevator's stationary, so they had to do swing sets, which literally required everyone in production grabbing something and moving it off or out of the hallway and moving different pieces in. So when the camera's focused on Scully in the elevator and she's walking around, real stuff is happening that's changing the surroundings, which is really cool.
That is extremely cool. And again, the reason why they don't do this more often, because the production
yes.
do it. It's a bit tricky. And it's also not that kind of show generally. Like they're generally going out into the world, going to different places, different locations, and you can cut it like your traditional show. But this episode, it really, really works.
We go now to 1939 once again. Mulder and the sailors are being escorted by Nazis into the ship's hold.
Perfect. American, mate. Saved your life, mate. Krauts don't want no reason to bring you Yanks into the war.
I got 2 words for you, buddy. Pearl Harbor.
What?
After Poland, Hitler's on his way to Denmark, Holland, and France with a few stops in between. The French all but roll over on us. The Italians seize their opportunity, and the Japanese come through the back door. It's a long, bloody story. It fortunately has a happy ending.
We win.
And you come out on the side of history with no small amount of help from us. Not much to apologize over the next 50 years, except for maybe the Spice Girls.
Schnauze halten! Kommt mal raus mit euch! Feuers! Worauf wartet ihr? Mach schon! Los! So lange! Feuer!
Well, according to our host, this will be our new accommodations, lads.
You speak German. What was that shouting about up there?
I got it in mind that we left America carrying arms to England.
Are we?
Listen, she's drawing 16 feet at 81,000 tons. We're making 21 knots at full power. We got munitions aboard this ship, mate. They don't weigh but a few stone.
The captain knew something. He wouldn't give up the wheel.
The Nazis boarded us after they intercepted a radio communication. Some kind of code word they keep asking about. Thor's hammer. You know what that is, mate?
Who go there? I said, who goes there? Show your face so we're bloody beat them to a stop.
You're iron down, boys. It's your own crew, for God's sake.
What are you doing down here?
Oh, having a cup of tea. What's it look like, you stupid swallow?
Yeah. And who's steering the boat?
Oh, just some blokes who answer to the name of Heil Hitler.
Never been to Germany, swabble. They'll have a special affection for the likes of you.
Yeah, right. Hey, this ship can't go to Germany.
Make up your mind, mate.
It can't happen. I got news for you. You're not carrying munitions. It's something far more deadly.
Thor's hammer.
Thor's hammer isn't a weapon, it's a man. A man who will help build a weapon, a bomb that'll win the war for whoever has it.
And you're telling me he's aboard this ship?
I saw him in the ballroom.
Oh no, Mulder. What did you do?
Well, oh boy. In classic X-Files twist, the man with whom Mulder was discussing the case smiles and knocks on the hold door. He begins speaking German and gives the guard the information. He gives the men inside one more Heil and leaves mocking them. They all begin shouting and bring Mulder into the hold further. The camera follows to Kirsch, who was chained himself to the engine, determined to get to Jamaica. Arguments ensue, and Mulder breaks them up. You'll never make it whichever way you go. He wants them to take the ship back around to the Bermuda Triangle. The conversation is interrupted by soldiers once more, who come for Mulder. He screams for them to turn the ship around as he's hauled away. The camera follows the soldiers as they make their way through the bottom of the ship. Now, Chris Carter utilizes shadows effectively here, Andrew, as we were talking about earlier. They use a lot of shadows to do cuts, change locations, as if they're actually following in real time.
Yep.
Mulder struggles with the men as they enter the ballroom. It's not a party anymore. It's quiet, people watching in fear as Mulder is thrown to the feet of Spender and CSM.
Before we jump in this scene, I think it's worth pointing out Kirsch's turn, because Junior, his turn as the engineer, who's chained himself to the controls or whatever. I'm really impressed, and it's a great opportunity for them to spread their wings as actors in other roles without having to go to another show. You know, this little alternate reality. And I liked it. I liked the idea too. It brought up this other very, very small subplot of, you know, we're going to go back to Jamaica. You know, this crew, and there's obviously some deeply embedded racism within the crew of the ship. And it comes out really nicely in this moment. You know, we're going to have our own little revolution on the eve of war.
What did you think of his casting for that character who, to real life X-Files, he is very much an enemy right now? Not so much in this scene. You know, he's not a friend or foe necessarily. He's just trying to get home. What do you think compared to the other actors who were cast in similar roles to their X-Files counterparts? What did you think of that?
Well, it's the wrong choice, obviously, but I mean...
Well,
they're limited.
I wasn't sure if you had any thoughts on it.
You know, that's the problem. Is they wanted to find a role for him in there. I mean, who are the other guest spots that you could have come into this episode?
No, I was asking more like, where would you put him? Where else could you put him? Or was this the only spot, do you think?
I think it was probably the only spot. Would you have the Jamaican swabbies as a subplot, unless you had a role that you could put him in there for? It's an interesting choice. Sure. I think he is, as you say, his placement in the X-Files mythos right now as a villain makes him more useful as an antagonist. But they don't have really a good subplot other than this for him. So, I mean, I think he's compelling as the character.
Absolutely.
And it's all a dream anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
What?
It is. I'm sorry to spoil the plot for you, Mike, but
you've done it. You've done it.
Yeah.
Well, Mulder is now nose to nose with Spender. He presses Mulder for information of who the scientist is, having been found out. They threaten him, and he refuses. Spender asks again, and Mulder says he doesn't know. CSM gives the order to kill someone. Points the gun at an old man. The camera closes on the soldier's face, and there's a gunshot. How many lives are you willing to sacrifice? As the camera lingers on Mulder's face, they order someone else's death. Another gunshot. Then we hear Scully yell for them to stop. She comes to Mulder's defense and the defense of the innocent people. This man doesn't know anything. She gets in Spender's face as the two argue. CSM gives another order, and Spender points his weapon at her. They ask once more. This time, Mulder pushes his gun away, saying he'll answer, protecting Scully. Mulder then walks to the old man who was shot and points to him. That is your scientist.
Well, it was a risky game that the Nazis were deciding to play, which was, I'm going to kill people until you tell me who the scientist is. But It's like, no, you could kill the scientist.
You know what? This was a quick, hard lesson for them. And I think they proved their point.
That's right.
I think Mulder proved his point. You can't just go around killing people for multiple reasons.
If he really wanted to sell it, he should have been like, no, don't kill him. And then he's killed him. It's like, you idiots, you've killed Thor's hammer.
What have you done?
Which is why they didn't believe him.
Well, back in 1998, it's nighttime. Scully and the gunman are on the ocean with a small boat. The camera pans across a huge luxury liner. It's the Queen Anne. We get a screen wipe back to the ballroom where Scully is at gunpoint. Spender's unhappy with Mulder's answer. They check his credentials. Mulder evades their continued questions. A man from the crowd comes forth claiming to be the scientist, and Scully calls him a liar to protect him. She's the scientist, she says. He identifies her as an agent of the OSS, and they haul him away to question him. Mulder and Scully are now together as the soldiers force them to their knees. They both bow their heads.
It looks like it's over for our heroes, our dream heroes.
Our dream heroes. Suddenly, the engines power down. A spotlight shines on the crowd as the camera pans around. There's a noise coming from the halls. Without much warning, the men from the engine room, having overpowered their guards, come rushing in and begin assaulting the officers. And
are gunned down by the Nazi soldiers wielding submachine guns.
Is this where your problem comes in?
Death. No, actually, I'm okay because it's a comedy.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like these are. We've already discussed in the chat that the Nazis are kill happy. So surely, as the British crew run in with their, belaying picks,
is it not believable that every single one of those Nazi soldiers was caught off guard one by one, as a crowd of angry men comes screaming into the ballroom? I think this is perfectly fine, Andrew.
It's an interesting choice, and it's fine. It moves the plot forward, so we're all good.
Well, as the fight begins, Dick Walter's Hot Licorice plays during this next scene as Mulder and Scully escape the madness into the halls of the ship. The scenes switch between the agents escaping the Germans and Scully and the gunman searching through a ghost ship. I want to mention they do some really cool sound editing here during the song. Mark Snow uses some slight instrumentation as the scenes with the gunman are quiet and actionless. His usage of metallic clanging, I'm not sure what that instrument is. I don't know how he does it, but it is very big, very deep, and does a great job of implying the size of the ship and how empty it is. So let's listen to that real quick.
Before we do, I have to call out Matt Conrad's excellent pun where he says the first time he saw this episode, he did not see that ball coming.
Good job. Excellent.
That deserves
that puts some of your most recent puns to shame, Andrew.
No, I listen.
That's
I got to step up.
Okay,
and let somebody else do a better job.
Let's listen to this music for a bit.
Interesting stuff.
I love that.
I think it's just a big old metal tube.
It could be. I don't know what the fuck it is, but it's perfect, and I love that usage there.
Find on board a ship.
Yes. Well, Mulder and Scully are stopped by a soldier, and he gets them to surrender at gunpoint. They turn to the camera and raise their hands in defeat. As he barks another order, a gunshot rings out. Surprised, the agents turn around. They find it's Skinner, who says, "God bless America," in English, mind you, and allows them to escape.
Badly accented German English.
All right, you know what? What are you doing? Just shitting where you can, Andrew. Just shitting where you can.
It's my job, man. It's my job.
I guess. Well, they take this opportunity to accept that and run down the halls. It's here we get the cool split screen, which I'm sure everyone remembers fondly from this episode. We get Mulder and Scully on the left, Scully on the right searching for her friends. The 1939 agents rush towards the screen, evading German officers, while Scully on the right also approaches. They turn the corner past each other and enter each other's frames. The two Scullys, as if they're feeling something unusual, stop and look back at each other and then continue on. Excellent stuff.
What a great conceit. It's really interesting. And in fact, this whole split screen wipe business they're using, it's interesting that it comes in about halfway through the episode, but it's meant to tell us, of course, whenever that split happens, we are going back and forth.
Time shift, yeah. Very effectively done. And because I think it's because smart. It's the same location now that they have to do something different than just a cut. Because between the two time periods.
What it's telling us is these are different ships. Like it's the same ship separated by time.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had this vision of Scully, the lone gunman, walking on and finding the action of 1939 happening and then somehow coming to their aid. But I think it's a more interesting choice to have these parallel action lines happening. It's complicated. Certainly it's complicated for them to present, and for the audience to maybe follow, which is why you need that split screen to tell you we're going back and forth in time and you know where you are with that bit of a conceit. So it's really, really neat. And as I said before, it's my favorite part of this episode is the unique editing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, back in the ballroom, both punches and tables are being thrown, and it's utter chaos. We get another wipe to 1998. Scully is with the gunman, and they enter the decrepit ballroom. Soft white light enters in from the windows, illuminating the webs and antique furniture. In 1939, Mulder and Scully are outside by the rails. He pleads with her to believe what he's telling her.
What are you doing?
I'm going to tell you how to save this ship.
Out here?
I can't stay. I got to get back to history.
What?
You got to rescue it. Wait, listen to me. The ship's been caught in something called the Devil's Triangle. It's some kind of time warp, a rift in space.
Are you crazy?
You know Einstein, right? He predicts the theoretical possibility. He also predicts an atomic weapon that will destroy the world.
Yeah? So what?
If you don't go back and convince the crew of this ship to turn the ship around and head back into the Devil's Triangle, everything Einstein predicted will become true, except for the outcome of history.
So, if I don't turn this ship around?
In all likelihood, I won't exist. Neither will you. So in case we never meet again.
What? They're kissing, Mike. They're kissing.
He grabs her passionately and plants one on her. And when the two separate, she pauses for a second and then socks him in the face. He makes a joke and then dashes for the railing, where we get one last quick cut. He jumps off. The screen splits again. She throws him a life preserver, and the 1998 screen is back to Mulder in the water, face down. The gunman's speedboat pulls up, and they drag him out. Fade to black. Mulder is in a hospital.
I need to ask a question at this point before you
sure.
resolve, and that is the choice for him to jump off the ship. Kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. To be honest, I gotta think it's the only way to convincingly end this episode, because what else was he gonna do? Or he could get knocked out or something, but
yeah.
And I do have
way, and the ending is not great for me, but
I've got one big problem with this episode that we'll get to here in a second. But
okay,
I'm sure it might be your 1%. Actually, that I was trying to figure out earlier.
Well, all will be revealed.
All right. Well, final scene. Mulder's in a hospital. Scully is over him talking to him. She informs him what happened. He feels like hell. She tells him about his little adventure and that they had to rescue him. And here everyone comes in. The gunman, Skinner. He tells them all that they were there, much like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. Mm-hmm. He tells Scully she saved the world, and yeah, she agrees. She informs him they found the Queen Anne, but that it was a ghost ship. She leans over and makes another Wizard of Oz joke, but he is convinced she saved the world. He lifts up a little bit to tell her that he loves her. She rolls her eyes and exits the frame. Mulder lays back down, and then a brief pain hits him, and he touches where Scully's fist landed. He smiles. The end.
All of this, of course, attributable to the drugs that he's on. I like the
most likely
to write that way. Well, what an episode.
Yeah, let's hear your final thoughts, Andrew.
All right. It is a great monster of the week, or in this case, I guess it's a haunted house, but in this case, it's a haunted ship. And setting in 1939, interesting choice, both production-wise and plot-wise. Was it all a dream? That is the only way any of this makes sense to me. The star of the show is the camera work, of course, as I've said many times before, the editing, meticulously planned shots that allow for the impression that we have a lot of long takes. It's compelling, and it produces a show like we have not seen before in this series. Why don't we have more of this kind of shooting? Because it takes so much production time. The scenes of Scully in the present day trying to track down Mulder by any means necessary are my absolute favorite in this show, perhaps in the whole series, actually. That just, you put a little ticking clock behind that and you've got a Grisham thriller. That's what we're seeing. The 1939 stuff, it's good, but a little less believable for me. And the whole thing is great right up until the point, and here's my 1%, where Scully says the Queen Anne was nothing but a ghost ship. And if it was, what exactly were she and the lone gunman wandering around then? What happened to that ship? It's a giant unanswered question that still does not make a lot of sense. Other than that, very entertaining. And I liked it a lot.
Okay, good stuff. You and I have talked at least a few times about how good the editing is here, so I'm not going to beat that drum, but
yeah,
this is obviously a dream episode. You could pop this episode in or out of any season and you wouldn't miss anything necessarily, aside from maybe Spender and Kirsch's involvement in the show. But it's just a fun getaway from the standard X-Files episode. This is just a fun little romp, doesn't mean anything. And, as an audience, we can appreciate it for what it is. It is just a good time. And they wanted to have some fun. They wanted the actors to spread their wings and probably let off some steam. For me, this is what I would call the beginning of the tonal shift of the X-Files, starting in season 6. And give or take, I did the counting today, actually, because I wanted to be sure, but I went through the episodes, or at least the list, because I know them pretty fucking well. And we're sitting at about 10 episodes that could be classified as humorous compared to standard X-Files fare. So I think this season they really kind of wanted to try some different things and not take the show quite as seriously tone-wise. They still tell great stories and they have a lot of great episodes here, but I think we're going almost half and half for humor and seriousness. And this episode is the first of that for season 6.
Well, they're probably listening to the ratings. Some of their best shows have been Darren Morgan stuff, which are all very tongue-in-cheek. So I think they're leaning into that a bit at this time and really allowing them to pour more energy into those unconventional shows. I'm kind of curious the logic behind doing this one and then immediately following it up with Dreamland 1 and 2, which are more
also
episodes where it's basically a dream for the way it plays out. Yeah, I mean, maybe I would put more conventional X-Files Monster of the Weeks in between Triangle and Dreamland, but they chose not to do that. And that maybe it was just a production schedule thing when they have access to actors and sets, and that's just the way they had to do it. But anyway, I find a curious choice.
Yeah, and Matt Conrad in chat says he really appreciates the experimentation they did in later seasons. And I totally agree. I think they need to, when you have a show as long as this one or as long as it's been on, you got to try new things. And they definitely started that, I think, as the seasons went on. And then with season 6, I think they're like, okay, let's have some fun. We're in LA now. You're going to see a lot of actors pop up that now. And especially in Dreamland, you got Michael McKean and Saturday Night Live lady. Can't remember her name right now. I apologize. But I mean, the first of many, right? So people are going to start showing up. They're going to start doing more creative things. And I think they should be applauded for at least trying. And I think most of the episodes turned out very well. So Yeah, I think this was the first of many fun romps through the X-Files, kind of shuffling off the seriousness of the show for half the season. So Good stuff. What I wanted to cry foul, I'm sure no one cares, but they fish Mulder out of the water face down after what, like a day, and he survives. That's my biggest issue with this episode. How does all that play out?
You literally are seeing him in that one moment where he's face down, but the rest of the time he's face up, and he's conserving energy.
Okay.
He's got a life jacket, maybe. He
Fair
finds
enough.
a life
Fair
jacket.
enough. Maybe.
It's again the better story we're not seeing.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was my
Fair
biggest gripe with that episode. That and the gunman, not a huge deal, but just things I noticed.
Terrible. My God.
Piece of shit. Well, what
Shall
do you say,
we
sir?
read some listener comments?
I think we should.
All right. Well, I got it queued up here, and we'll start with Matt Conrad, who is with us tonight in the chat. Matt said, after the beginning, which is fine, season 6 is super solid for a good string of 6 or 7 episodes, in my opinion. Some great Monster of the Week episodes in this season. I would agree with that.
Good. Wow, we got several comments here.
We did get several comments on this one.
Aaron Haycraft says, Triangle is a completely gimmick episode, and I love it for that. Does it make sense? Not really. Do I care? Nope. Still love it. I adore anytime X-Files is confident enough in itself to do this kind of episode. The little laugh Mulder gives after kissing the alt Scully is the best, and I'm not even a shipper. Who among us wouldn't have done the same?
Amen, brother. And the script gave him that opportunity, so look at that. I'll be interested to know people's thoughts in the chat, what they thought of the kiss. Did it set their hearts aflutter? Did they sort of roll their eyes and go, well, of course they took their opportunity to do this? What have they done? I will read the next comment, which is from Kevin Moran, who says, initially I did not care much for Triangle. It seemed too hokey and hat on a hat. Bermuda Triangle, time travel, parallel timelines, and it was just a dream, all mashed into one. However, the more I watched the episode, the more I came to enjoy it. Thanks to the acting, camera work, and the big band music. Overall, a fun episode. Yeah, props to the music. Like the hot licorice totally sets the tone. It's really nice.
Good stuff. It really helps with the feel of the 1939 segment too. Just the whole brawl in the ballroom. It just really did wonders there. So good stuff. Emily Messenger says, if I had to come up with one complaint about Triangle, it would be the lighting. The long takes, the incredible dialogue, the doppelgangers, the beautiful set, the kiss, all would be made even better if I could actually see what the fuck was going on. Kidding aside, it is one of my favorite episodes of the series and sets my little shipper heart all aflutter.
Aww.
Good stuff. I would agree in certain scenes about the lighting. I mean, especially when they're dragging Mulder up one last time to the ballroom from the engine room.
Mm-hmm.
There's some real quick cuts that are, it's like, there's no way they made it up here that fast, but that's what they're trying to imply. Is it necessary at that point to continue doing that? Maybe not. But
well, I think it was structurally necessary for them to be able to edit it. You know, they wanted these long takes, and I think they wanted you to feel discombobulated when you were watching it. Like, what the hell is going on here? You are as much a victim as Mulder is being carried around through these hallways by Germans toting guns, you know, in another timeline. I didn't mind it. I got it. I get it that it is, you know, you want it to be a little bit better shot so you can understand what's going on. There have certainly been other episodes where I've been watching and I thought, is it just the translation to watching it on a computer versus watching it, you know, on a regular CRT TV in 1998 where I would have been able to see it better? Like, is that what's happening here? Because for whatever reason, it's just hard to watch some of these dark episodes. But
yeah, I mean, you have to go with what their tools were at the time sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't always translate to vibrant. Like, you can see, especially in like science fiction shows in space, you can see the really apparent blue screens or green screens that you just don't see when it aired or when the movie came out. So yeah, I mean, obviously you're going to get some discrepancies there with better quality video, but overall it went pretty well.
I agree. I mean, That's my least complaint of the show. The big one being just the decision to write off the ship at the end.
Right.
I mean, I guess the episode is a dream, so the ship can be a dream. But Scully's explanation that it was just a ghost ship, like, I'm sorry, that does not hold water for a lot of reasons.
It does not work for me.
Yeah, I don't get why they needed. There are 1,000 different ways you can write off the ship. It broke up and fell into pieces, and now it's on the bottom of the sea. And I don't know.
Fair enough.
Why? Just like it never happened.
Yeah, Andrew. What do you say we wrap this episode up and call it a night?
Let's finish this one with a salute to the SS Queen Anne, or otherwise known as the RMS Queen Mary. It's worth noting that they shot it on, of course, a vintage actual ship.
From the 30s.
I wish it's well in its alternate dimension, wherever it returned to, in an unexplained way.
Andrew, we got to talk. What are you doing? And by the way, where are your nautical puns that you promised all of us?
I'm sending this one to the bottom. I am loosening the depth charges to destroy it. It's all done.
All right.
Let's sail our way home. Come sail away with me, Mike.
Come sail away. All right. Well, thank you all for showing up tonight. We appreciate it, and stick with us for the next episode. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review on your podcast app of choice. Andrew and I would be eternally grateful to you fine people for helping us expand and get the word out. Also, we've got a killer group on Facebook. Feel free to join in on the discussion at facebook.com/groups/thisisnothappeningpod and become an official member of the syndicate. We do polls and we have questions for every episode to give you guys the opportunity to chime in and possibly let your voice be heard on our recordings. And please join us on our new Twitter at tinhxfilespod, no dash, to stay up to date on everything, moment to moment. Thank you, and remember, don't stop swimming.